Hello, everyone. We're talking with Kay Johnson today about the law school's new Corporate Counsel Externship. Kay is a three-time UCalgary alumna, including a member of the UCalgary Law class of 2016. She's a senior legal counsel with Flair Airlines and will be leading the externship course in the fall semester. Kay has worked in both big law in Canada and overseas and in-house, and is well-versed in how both sides work. Some of you may have questions about the Corporate Counsel Externship, so we thought we would go right to the brains behind the course and get some answers before the application deadline on Monday. So Kay, welcome, and why don't you tell us a little bit about this course?
Thank you, Allie. It's my pleasure to introduce this course to our University of Calgary Faculty of Law students. A little bit of background about me, in and above what Allie has said. I graduated from the faculty in 2016, and I wish this program had existed when I was in school. And I am very excited to be the first course instructor to pilot this program for this class. So the externship is a program that places an upper year JD student into the legal department of a company. We call them in-house counsel or corporate counsel, but essentially there are lawyers that sit within a company, and in-house counsel or corporate counsel have a very interesting work portfolio. It's different than practicing in private practice. And it isn't until a lawyer actually goes in-house that they realize what those differences and intricacies are. Those of us who are in-house counsel know that you're not strictly wearing a legal hat all the time. Sometimes you wear a business hat. Sometimes you wear a sort of common sense hat. Sometimes you wear a reputational risk hat. So it's a very dynamic place, being corporate counsel. And the goal of this externship is to expose students to this type of work. And maybe it is something that you're interested in doing in the future, in which case I think there's no better experience than actually doing it. So we hope the externship will provide the opportunity to do that.
Wonderful. And just to elaborate a little bit more, why would a student want to take this course?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, if you know that you be interested in going in-house one day, this is a no-brainer opportunity in my mind. It might illuminate some things about being an in-house counsel that you didn't know before. It might really make you think this is the right role for me in the future. It might make you think, oh, this is not the right role for me at all. And it's better to know that now than maybe later on down in your career. But even if you aren't sure if you might go in-house in the future, I think if you plan on being in private practice, it will be very valuable for you as a private practice lawyer to know what your clients, specifically in-house counsel, are thinking about, are trying to problem solve, and what they're working with. I think that experience can only strengthen your value proposition as a private practice lawyer.
Wonderful. Do you know which companies are going to be participating in this externship opportunity?
Yeah, so we have been getting a couple of questions. That seems to be the $1 million question. And it's a very good question. I will preface this by saying that I'm not going to share any names at this point, because nothing is firmed up, and we are asking the participating companies to go through quite a rigorous process in terms of really outlining beforehand the type of tasks that they envision the student helping with, and making sure that falls into the teaching principles under this externship. But I will give you kind of a good overview summary. So we have 9 companies who have expressed interest in being a participating company for the fall semester. In terms of industry, we've got oil and gas, we've got chemicals. This is very Calgary, but I think you will be surprised to learn, as I was, that it's not just oil and gas. Calgary actually has a very vibrant, diverse set of businesses, and who we are seeing in these participating companies reflect that. So we have from finance, asset managers, real estate developers. We have an airline, and I'm not going to say which one, but you know where I work. So there we are. We have companies that are involved in, I would say, intellectual property. And we have companies that are in, I would say, roll-up of medical clinics or clinics in that space. So it is really diverse set of industries, and it is very exciting to me to hear that all these companies are interested in working with a student. And I think students are going to get incredible exposure wherever they land, whichever participating company it is. These companies range in size, and the legal teams in these companies can range from just 1 lawyer to 10. And I would say to that, wherever the student lands, I think it's a very valuable experience, regardless if it's 1 lawyer or 10 lawyers, that the student is going to have. And I think having a smaller legal team actually can be a huge strength of the participating companies, what they're bringing to the table, because the student is going to get exposure to a greater variety of things, and it's going to be just more in the mix. So I would say we're very excited at the companies that have raised their hand, and they have provided to us sort of these initial thoughts about what they'd like the student to be doing. And it is wide ranging. In some instances, we've been asked to have students that are interested in more litigation within a corporate setting. We've been asked for students with commercial corporate interests, so things like dealing with acquisitions, or after an acquisition, sort of the closing parts of it, and day-to-day corporate records work, like minute books, fundamental organizational documents that a corporation needs to have. Yeah, so I hope that gives an idea of participating companies, the size of the legal teams, and ultimately the type of work that you would be getting involved with as a student.
And it sounds from what you just told us that some of the work and some of the companies could actually tie in really well with other courses that students are perhaps taking in law school.
Yeah, I think so. I think the fundamental courses that you take as a first year do become very relevant, like contracts, for example, is something that I think every in-house counsel uses. So I had the pleasure of having Professor Oshinebo as my contracts professor. And I got lots of A+ in that course, although none that actually translated onto my transcript. But I do think about what he taught me, and I can sort of visualize things that he said in that course in my practice as in-house counsel sometimes. So I would say your first year courses do set you up very well for sort of the basic knowledge that you will need in this externship. And I think a lot of it is you learn along the way, and that's what this experience really intends to do, is to provide real world experiential learning.
Wonderful. So can you tell us how students will be matched with participating companies?
Yeah, that's the other $1 million question, hey? So this is our first year doing this externship. It is a bit of a trial and error, but we have actually learned a lot about how to run an externship through other schools, other faculty of laws that have done it. And the associate dean doesn't like me saying this, but we actually learned a lot about how to run our externship from the UBC Corporate Counsel Externship. And the way we match students and companies is very much informed by their best practices as well. So how we've decided to do this is students apply, and students will probably have already received that clinical posting and the things that they need to pull together as part of their application. And then on the other side, we have participating companies who have lined up and have told us the type of student that they're interested in terms of skill sets or interests, really. From there on, these all go to me and your assistant dean, Angela Dwar. Angela, what's her last name?
Gallo Doer, yeah.
Yes, sorry, yeah. And we match the student up with the company. There's no hard science. I think it's more of an art, probably a dark art. So it's really important when students do apply in their letter of intent that they tell us what they're interested in and what their skills are. I know it can feel difficult to write a letter of intent when you don't know who the participating companies are and you can't write the letter of intent directly to them. But my best suggestion is just to write what you are actually interested in and what your skill sets are. And we will do our best to line them up to what the companies are asking for. So after we do this, we select the successful students, we match them up with the companies, and we will share the successful candidates, the students' application with that participating company, and we will let that student know who we are hoping to match them up with. And the student has the opportunity to say yes or no for whatever reason, if that is just not the right fit for you, and that is perfectly okay. I will say if you say no, there is a chance that we likely won't be able to rematch you, at least in that semester anyways. But certainly we don't want the student to be working with a company that they don't want to be working with. So conversely, the participating company has the opportunity to say no to the student. And if that is the case, that is their prerogative. But what we would also say is that that participating company likely won't be matched to any student for this semester. So we hope that gives the student and the company a little bit of agency to decide if that the ultimate relationship between the student and the company is right. But I ask the students who are thinking of applying to have a bit of faith and trust in me and in the school that we are going to do the best to match you up with a company where you are going to have an amazing experience. And we guarantee, guarantee is not the right word, and we work really hard to try to do this. My role as a course instructor, I think one of my biggest responsibilities is making sure that both parties are having a good experience in the internship. And what that means from a student perspective is that the student is getting the right amount of work and the right quality of work from the company and the supervisor. And what that means from the company's perspective is that the student is showing up to work, is trying hard, is putting in good effort. So those are the standards, and that is what I see the role of my job being, and I hope I can do that.
Will students have to work in the organization's office, or will it be hybrid? How will that work?
What we've communicated to the participating companies is that our expectation is the company and or supervisor will have a physical presence in Calgary that the student can be a part of. What that looks like might be the student works in the office of the company, or will once in a while get a tour of the operations, if that's applicable to the company, or it could just mean that the student meets up with the supervisor for a coffee or a meeting that is in person. And we communicate this expectation to the company because it's one of the teaching principles of this externship that in-person interactions are important for the student to develop knowledge and experience. So what we've also communicated to the supervisors and the companies is that the amount of remote work versus in-person work is totally up to the supervisor. So some companies will want the student to be in person, doing all their work in person, and that might be an extension of how the company operates. And some would have a lot different flexibility or expectations. And we are hoping that the company and the student can agree on something that works for both of them. So we know that for each relationship, it'll be different as each company is different. But I think the expectation is that students should expect to go in person, whatever that looks like. And I think that is a valuable part of the experience that you really can't replicate in remote working. And the last bit of it, I will say from a logistics perspective, is we hope that the company and the student can work around the student's course schedule to identify the hours that they will be working each week. So the expectation is that the students will work 10 hours each week for, I think it's 11 weeks that the course is running, and the clinical posting has the exact timetables set out. If that is somehow becomes an issue, we can address that on a case-to-case basis, but we hope, there is a bit of flexibility and we can make it work.
Wonderful. What does a student need to submit to be considered for this externship?
In the clinical posting, you will see that we have asked for the letter or statement of intent, academic transcripts, and a CV. So going again back to that letter of intent, it is meant to be 1 page, not more than 1 page. Tell us what you're interested in. Tell us, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a skill set, because I think these companies and supervisors understand that if you're a 1L or a 2L or a 3L, if you're a student, there's still lots to learn. So I think it is less about skill set and more about interests. But I will say within the skill set part, it's less about substantive knowledge of law and more about qualities that you're bringing to the table. So, if you see yourself as very organized, or that you are very good at talking to finance teams, or I don't know, production engineering teams, those are things that you'd want to highlight. We really want to get to know you for what your interests are via these applications, so we have the best chance of matching you up with a company that is going to be the best fit.
Wonderful. So I think those are all the questions I have. Is there anything else you would like to add before we wrap up?
If students have any questions, they're free to shoot them directly to me, and Ally can share my email. If this pilot program goes well in the fall semester, my hope is that we'd be able to run it in the winter. But this is just kind of me speaking without anyone checking. I know that some students will be on exchange in the fall semester, as I was, and great call. I did it too. It was so much fun. So I know like those students are not getting the opportunity necessarily for an externship. If you think this is something you might be interested in but it only works for you in the winter semester, please send that feedback to me or to Angela, because all of that helps us with our course plan.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Kay, for chatting with us today and providing some more information about the Corporate Counsel Externship. Just a reminder to all students that the deadline to submit your documents is Monday, June 17th, and you can find all the information on the website under current students or on our SharePoint page.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Ally. And I'll sort of lead by saying this, which is UBC's Corporate Counsel Externship is their most popular program. They have over 100 applications for 8 spots every semester. So I know U of C students can bring it. And I really hope the students take advantage of this opportunity. Like I said, I wish this was a opportunity I had when I was in school. I think it'll be an invaluable learning experience.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Take care.